What if I told you the US government spent decades and millions of dollars training soldiers to be psychic spies? I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But the declassified files on a program called Project Stargate reveal one of the strangest, most fascinating true stories in American intelligence history. So, let's dive in and see what they found. $20 million. That's how much the US government poured into this top-secret program over the course of 2 decades. And the goal? Well, it was to weaponize the human mind itself, to see if they could create spies who could see through walls and across entire continents, using nothing but their own consciousness.
And then there's this number, 89,000. That's how many pages of classified files they released when it was all said and done. These documents opened up a secret window into this hidden world of psychic espionage, mind-bending missions, and honestly, a deep scientific mystery that's still not resolved today.
When Project Stargate was declassified back in 1995, you can imagine it sent some shockwaves. I mean, it was official confirmation that for over 20 years, operating in the deepest, darkest shadows, the US Army had been actively trying to train soldiers to become psychic intelligence gatherers. So, you've got to be asking, how did a program this unbelievable even get off the ground? Well, the answer, like so many things from that era, is rooted in the high-stakes paranoia of the Cold War. You see, US intelligence started picking up these really alarming reports that the Soviets were dumping millions into something they called psychotronic research, basically studying paranormal abilities for military use. And the big fear was that Russia would develop some kind of psychic weapon first, creating a strategic psychic gap that America just couldn't risk. So the American response wasn't just to go out and find people who claimed to be psychic. Oh no, it was way more ambitious. They wanted to create them. They developed this incredibly rigorous discipline called Controlled Remote Viewing, or CRV, which was designed to turn what seems like a random spooky phenomenon into a repeatable intelligence tool. And the CRV protocol was super structured. This was not about just closing your eyes and guessing. Viewers had to follow this strict, multi-stage process. The whole point was to try and isolate that faint psychic signal from all the noise of your own imagination and your conscious analytical brain. Okay, so they've got this new protocol, and they've got their trained psychic soldiers. The big question is, what kind of real-world missions did the US government actually try to use them for? Well, the answers point to some of the most sensitive secrets of the Cold War. I love this quote. This is how people inside the program would describe a piece of intelligence that was so unbelievably, impossibly accurate, it required a very stiff drink just to wrap your head around it. Imagine being a hardened intelligence officer, and someone tells you the location of a secret enemy base that they saw in their mind. Yeah, those were the moments that kept this program funded for 20 years. And when you dig through the declassified files, you find these stunning examples of these so-called hits. I mean, the psychics apparently pinpointed a downed Soviet nuclear bomber deep in the African jungle. They described a new type of Soviet submarine before satellites ever got a picture of it. Supporters of the program point to moments like these as stone-cold proof that it worked. But here's the catch. This was nowhere near a perfect system. The program's reliability was a huge, constant problem. For every one of those jaw-dropping successes, the files show literally thousands of failures, just vague data that led nowhere and predictions that completely missed the mark. And this, of course, fueled this intense internal debate about whether the program was actually worth anything at all. So by 1994, the Cold War is over, the world has changed, and the pressure is on. The CIA decides it's time for a final, definitive scientific review to figure out once and for all, was there something real here, or was this whole thing just a $20 million fantasy? You know, this program had been running in the shadows for over 2 decades. It started out in Stanford research labs and then moved to Army intelligence at Fort Meade. It had even survived one pretty negative review back in '85. But now, it was facing its final judgment. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The 2 lead scientists, a statistician and a psychologist, they look at the exact same data and come to completely opposite conclusions. The statistician, Jessica Utz, she said the effect was so statistically significant there's no way it could be chance. But the psychologist, Ray Hyman, he saw a pattern of potential biases and flaws in the research that to him made the data totally unreliable. So, with this split verdict on their hands, the CIA had to make a call. They ended up siding with the skeptic, Ray Hyman.
Citing his report on the methodological flaws and the fact they couldn't point to a single case where this psychic intel alone was actionable, the agency officially shut down Project Stargate in November of 1995.
But, the end of the program was really just the beginning of the public's obsession with it. Declassifying the files didn't close the book on Stargate. It threw it wide open for the whole world to read. This quote just perfectly captures the program's legacy. Those 89,000 pages of documents basically became a giant Rorschach test. The data is so complex, so messy, and so contradictory that what you see when you look at it often just depends on what you were already prepared to believe in the first place.
And today, the interpretations of Stargate pretty much fall into one of three camps. First, there's the null hypothesis. It was all just chance, wishful thinking, and confirmation bias. Then there's the weak signal idea, that maybe a real but very small and unreliable psychic effect actually exists. And finally, you've got the suppressed success theory, that the program worked way better than they let on, and its best results are still top secret.
And believe it or not, the story doesn't end there. After the program was shut down, many of the original psychic spies took their classified government training and went public with it. They started a multi-million-dollar industry offering courses and services to teach anyone the secrets of controlled remote viewing. So in the end, the files are out there for anyone to see, but the mystery is still very much alive. Did a $20 million government program accidentally prove that psychic powers are real? Or did it just prove that even the most disciplined, well-trained minds can be powerfully deceived by what they want to believe? The answer, it seems, is still buried somewhere in the static.